Usually, I'm used to make presentation of the governance issues and different policies, but never to speak about relation between peace and business, which was for me a very, very attractive topic. I will try during my presentation not to repeat what Professor Hamid said, but what I will try to bring, there are some figures about what happened in the Southeast Europe. I've been working for a Regional Cooperation Council to prepare the Southeast European strategy 2020. But when I started to prepare my presentation, I wanted to see what is the relation between peace and business. And there are some important considerations which I'm thinking that if we talk in Albania, and if I go and talk a lot about politicians and also with administration about what is this relation and what is the contribution of business community, I'm sure the first word will come is that profit, economy, job, which indeed it's more than that. First of all, is social inclusion and increasing the social cohesion. In the conflicts, after the conflict, the first that are coming to cooperate are trade people, business people, that are exchanging with each other. Making trade means that you need to build trust. So you need to increase cohesion, social cohesion, and this is very important. Reforming institutions. We all know that business community is a force that is pushing the different reforms that the government needs to undertake. It is known that all top-down reforms are going not to succeed if these are not supported by the community and if these are not supported by the business community. In many cases, business community is demand-driven. It's the community which pushes the government to take different reforms. Changing citizens' incentives. In all of the elements that I will give, personally, I will put a lot of emphasis in this changing citizens' incentives and what does it mean. We know that there are problems of crime in the Western Balkan countries. We know that there are problems of illegal trafficking and all of these elements. These come where we don't have a sound economy. When we have problems, people try to tend to circumvent. And then in this situation, when the lack of opportunities are coming, for sure that what we have more problems. And we have a lot of criminalities. While when citizens have job, they have a possibility to work, sure that they will not think about different elements of circumventing rules or dealing with crimes in order sometimes even to survive, because in some cases even to survive. I have been following a lot of statements made recently by families, Albanian families, Kosovo families that were going to Syria and join ISIS. Many of them say, we didn't have opportunities, we went there for money. Maybe. But maybe this is an issue, maybe this is an incentive from them. But if they would have job to do, if they would have economy for sure, I'm sure that maybe the majority of them would have not left Albania and Kosovo, or other countries as well. Economic empowerment, and here Mr. Said talked about gender issue. The first thing that comes in mind is empowerment, because women can work, business can mobilize and provide more job for women, so it means that more empowerment, economic empowerment to marginalized groups, and that's why the role of a business is very important. And building skills. For business this is important, for economy this is important, because in order for the business to develop, they need to bring skills from the other countries, we have technology transfer, which means that we have built skills transfer. After 2010, the countries of Southeast decided to prepare the Southeast European strategy. I was part of the team preparing the Southeast European strategy. Why the strategy? It was just a response to the Europe 2020 strategy, to the strategy of European Union. And in order not to leave let's say, the region aside, but to bring it together to the economic growth, the countries decided to prepare the Southeast European strategy, which is considered a step forward. The strategy was approved in 2012, and there is 8 years that is implemented. The main pillars of the strategy were 5: integrated growth, inclusive growth, governance for growth, sustainability growth, and smart growth, with a lot of reforms. The old government worked to prepare those that were called multi-annual implementation plan in order to develop that this is called regional economic area. But where we are today, you see, us as expert and the professor, we are very good on putting figures and trying to make estimations. So all the data that you see are those targets. What was the target of the strategy? Where the region is going to be in 2020? But where we are today, there are different reports, and I'm just quoting here two reports, 2019 Balkan Barometer and 2019 Annual Report. As you see, both reports recognize the achievement made by countries of Southeast Europe on implementing of the strategy, on boosting of the economies, embarking on different several reform, deepening regional cooperation, which are good. These are good statements which are showing the progress. But I want to just draw your attention in two elements of these reports. The professor mentioned a lot of achievement in terms of FDI, so FDI growth, and it's true, yes, we have. These are the data. 2010 are the data of the baseline, so before the strategy was adopted. In 2018 are the other data, and 2020 are the targets. So we see that, okay, it's a good achievement. In terms of FDI, the strategy managed to have 81%. So growth of the APIs compared to the target of 2020. In terms of the new enterprises, there are many enterprises that are created. There are years which you see the number of enterprises are doubled. But what is, for me, as an expert, but also for me as a citizen of Western Balkan concerning issue, is the 0 point here. Because we have intra-regional trade. Intra-regional trade, increase of the intra-regional trades to the GDP as percentage is 0. So we have a steady situation, and these are the data that I just got from the 2019 report of the Southeast European strategy prepared by the Regional Cooperation Council. If I would have been the Minister of Economy of the Western Balkan countries, the first thing I would have done to have a meeting and to discuss together why us as a Balkan countries, we don't show in the GDP the increased level of cooperation. So why we are still at 2010 that we were before, these are very concerning issues. Yes, it has increased, but why we are today at the 0 level of increase in the growth? And the target that was put by the countries, because all of these figures, we as experts work, but we work with the government. So we have been assisting the government, using the data of the government. And as experts, still, we are not inventing, we are just using the data of the government. So today, if you see here, intra-regional trade, it was 9.6% of GDP in 2010, still it is 9.6% of GDP in 2018, and the target is in 2020 to be 43% of GDP. There are only 2 years left. It has to be a miracle. So it means that the trade will grow in the data that I'm presenting here. 61% of entrepreneurs agree that it is important, the quality of regional cooperation. It's not simply just to cooperate, but how it is the quality of the regional cooperation, what is done by the country. So we see here that we have a support of the business community of this cooperation, but ways to do it, the modalities to do it need to change. Another issue, looking at from the governance point of view, as I was presented as a governance expert, the first thing that we see is, okay, what is the government dialogue with the business community? And still referring to the Balkan barometers, we see that there is a problem with the government dialogue. A recent survey that was done in the West and Southeast European countries indicate that we have close to 76% of the business consider the governments pay little attention or no attention on consulting with them with the policies. How much it is that? It's an issue of perception or it's an issue of the reality. This needs to be joined, but this is something that should be a concern for the government of Southeast European countries. I have been assisting many countries on preparing the strategies. 2 days ago in the Albanian television, there were a group of business people that were talking together, and one of them said, oh yeah, government of Albania has done 30 strategy, but the government of Albania has done this strategy, but nobody is caring about the strategies. Because these strategies are done because donors wanted the strategies to be done. And I see here two fundamental problems. First, because business community does not trust on the implementation of the policies by the government. And second, because it's in the reality, sometimes government, they do not pay attention to consult with business community by imposing rules without consulting with them, which is really a problem. Just to conclude, there are many ways that reforms need to be undertaken, increasing transparency, but not just as, let's say, talking points, improving responsible politics with the better governance and rule of law. I don't want to go to all of them, but I just want to end to the end one, fighting informality, but also monopolies. We are talking a lot about fighting informality. Yes, it's important to fight informality, but it's important also to find monopolies, because both are bringing distortion to the market, and this is important. And just in the end, let's not forget, many people here, as it was introduced here, are business people. Business can break barriers, but it's up to the government to eliminate them. Thank you.